What can you tell us about availability this week?
Availability, still Jelani, Forbes and Brandon Cambridge are injured. Other than that, I think we're all go.
We haven't seen Wilf this week. I know we saw him into the maybe got more. What can you tell us about him for Saturday?
I can tell you that he's about to get off a plane. He's become the father to a daughter, him and his wife. So we're really pleased for them, and we're going to make them feel our love when they get here. And I'm waiting for him to take him out for a session at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We're really pleased for them, and from what I believe, mother and child are good.
So you just quick, the family's coming over together?
No. Wilf is on his way over. Yeah.
In terms of, I guess, so he'll train today and then he'll train tomorrow with you guys?
He will, yeah.
And I guess you'll make a determination, or do you kind of know somewhat in your mind what you feel like you can expect from him?
I know until I speak to Wilf and see how he is today. Not made any decisions at all yet.
In terms of what you've been able to surmise, you said that you wanted to be more of a possession team this year, and your teams historically have held more possession than Charlotte did and Mass last year. How difficult is that to try and change and transform with the roster you have?
At the moment, I came in last season and looked at the roster, and I felt the best way to go was the way we went last season, was to become tough to beat. I felt we did that. As poorly as we played last week, we were still tough to beat. Still showed a lot of resilience. And we're trying to turn that side of the game into more of a positive for us. But again, if teams are going to press you high, then the space is in behind. So don't play for playing's sake. I don't want our players to keep possession for possession's sake. Every time we've got the ball, it's for a reason. That reason is to try and score a goal. And how you try and score the goals, there's so many different ways to go and do it. Keeping possession of the ball and drawing teams out is one. Finding your spare man is another. Finding where the space is and running into it is another. Set pieces, so there's lots of different ways to go and score goals. So we're looking at all them different ways, and I said from the start, what I want is my team to become better decision makers, not just better on the ball, better decision makers.
What do you think of Eric Williamson's play in his first week?
I thought first half, I thought he found the ball well. I thought he used the ball okay, but like probably 9 others around him they didn't cover the ground quick enough as a team. I felt that whenever we went and pressed individually and got found out. And I thought as the second game went on, he lost a couple of balls as well. That was the decision to make the sub then.
Edon has been somebody who we've gotten a little bit of a look at the end of the year in Legacy and at the beginning. I know you said you want to still try and add some more depth to the front line, but how does he help maybe answer that question of what's behind Pat? Well,
I think he showed when he came on for the last 15 minutes or so what it was. He's impressed me in pre-season. I said that in the press conference last week as well. He's been really bright, and he came on and I thought he showed, he gave energy to the team that we needed at that time. He went and won a couple of headers, put the lad under pressure for the goal, and put in the cross that got the own goal and the equaliser as well. So yeah, he's certainly coming to the forward at the moment for us, and we're pleased with how he's progressing in and trying to fulfil the potential he's got.
Given Atlanta's new additions, particularly in the forward line, what adjustments do you have to make with your own defensive side to limit their opportunities and capabilities?
Well, the lads keep a clean sheet and I buy them wine, so I might put the pressure on because I drink wine, so if we concede a goal, then they might have to get me a bottle of wine and just turn the tables a little bit. So but no, I mean, listen, they've spent a lot of money. I mean, they've spent 32 million on 2 players. It's a lot of money in this league, and they've got a quality squad anyway, so we have to be wary of them. But not overthink what they're about and think more about what we're about, because knowing my back players as I do, they'll relish that challenge of playing against these players.
Sure.
Is Eric Williamson able to practice? Is he got a bug?
Yeah, Eric missed Monday's training session, but he's trained since then.
Okay, and I'm wondering about Tavares. Is he someone, like where does he stand?
Yeah, no, Tavares is back in full training as well because he had an injury during pre-season while we were in Coachella, but he's back to full training now.
Okay, I know a lot of guys turned the ball over in Seattle, but was Pep a bright spot in some of the actions he had? You know,
I don't think Pep's 100% yet. You know, there was a couple of actions during the game which I spoke to him about where I think there was a couple where I thought he could have had a foul or a free kick, and his reactions to get back wasn't what it would be if he was 100%. So I think the only way you make him 100% is by keep working him in training but giving him games as well, because he has got the qualities that we need, as we saw with the delivery for the goal.
I mean, I think some people I read, are saying, well, you've had the whole preseason to work out these problems, this and that. But to go from the level of a preseason scrimmage in Coachella to playing some of the top teams in MLS, I mean, it's a big jump, right? I mean,
yeah, I don't quite understand what the problems are that we haven't done in pre-season.
Well, you weren't happy with how the team played right this year.
No, because they didn't play well. But that was pretty much they didn't run hard enough. I've had the data through now, and Seattle ran 5k further than us during the game, which, that's where the data gives me the evidence that my eyes were showing me. And that's unlike us, and I don't expect to see that again from the players because, they got told about that. After the game, and they got told about that when we reviewed the game on Sunday, and unfortunately it was like, I said after the game that I was hoping that the flight would be quicker than it was on the way out, and it was like rolling in the deep, staying in Seattle for 3 days and sleepwalking in Seattle, but it was a bit of a journey back, but we've done it and we've trained well since, and I expected a difference. Certainly from the players. It was great to show all the love to our supporters who came to watch the open training the other day. We want to do a few more of them. There's a lot of young kids there, and how much it means to meet their players and their idols. And our job tomorrow, on Saturday now, is to make sure that we turn up, because the fans are certainly turning up.
Last year you were talking about how you weren't used to a derby match being 250 miles away. But bigger country, that's actually a smaller distance. Do you feel the rivalry with Atlanta, given how many fans travel down there, the proximity that does make it,
I certainly felt it when we went to Atlanta. I can't say I felt it too much at the home game. I thought the home game was a typical home game for us, with our fans always being as noisy as possible and giving us the support we want. And I keep saying, these rivalries have to be organic. You can't manufacture rivalries, otherwise it doesn't work, in my opinion. But yeah, there's certainly one that's growing there, because you saw the numbers that our fans travelled with last time.
Because there's been a historical non-sports rivalry just by being two of the bigger cities in the southeast, and Atlanta has been the leader of that, but Charlotte, is established to a point where it doesn't care about Atlanta anymore because we passed them in banking and things like that. But with the fans, there's definitely a feeling there. But does that permeate in your thinking? And the question here is whether having a game of this importance to the fans and bragging rights and things like that, coming just 2 games into the season, does it add any kind of pressure from being this early or not? Not
pressure. I mean, if it's important to the fans, then it's important to us, that always gets passed on to us about what's important to our supporters, and and the players will certainly be aware of that. We'll be aware of it. Whether it makes the game any more pressure for myself, I have to say no, because the pressure I put on myself is big enough. So I'm really looking forward to the game, and hopefully we can get a good enough performance that gets a good result for our supporters.
Because you're virtually a Southerner now with point in time. You're a property owner, so.
Yeah, I'm one of you all.
Mike and then Nick.
Dean, going back to, you were talking about them pressuring, if the pressure's up high, the space is behind. And you also kind of talked about you want your guys to be better decision makers. In that decision-making process, do they have to, it's obviously got to be very quick, but are they also thinking about the risk-reward in that decision? I mean, high risk, high reward, lower risk?
Definitely. I mean, listen, football's soccer, I should say, is different to a lot of other sports. It's quite random. It's not like American football. It's not like rugby in the UK, where a lot of it is set-piece routines. It's fairly random, and you're making decisions like that. So we have to put the players in situations during training where they're making better decisions all the time. The better decision makers they become, the better players they become. So that's really, really key to what we're trying to work at the moment. And if there's a team of 11 pressing you in your half, then there's less space to play. So your technical ability has to be spot on. Your tactical awareness has to be spot on. But on the flip side of it, if you have opposite movements and you drag somebody in and the space is behind and somebody runs into it when the ball's arriving, you've got a good chance of scoring goals.
Is that the challenge though? Because in just about all sports, you can't simulate game.
Yeah, I mean,
situation.
see, I see in the world of football now, it becomes a trend. A trend is to become a passing team and a possession-based team. But if the space is the other side of the opposition, and defenders like nothing worse than running back towards their own goal. They want the ball in front of them. But because it's a trend, players think it's right to keep playing in front of them, when it's actually the opposite. And you have to coach players and talk to players about reasons why they do it. And during our coaching sessions, there's many a time where I'll say to Addy, where do you not want the ball to go now? And he's like, well, there. Okay, well, why? What if we play it there? Well, that's all right, I can see it. And I know there's no man in front of me, So we have to be careful that we just don't fall into that trap of following trends. And I've seen since I've come into the league, there's a little bit of a trend of wanting to play out or wanting to be a high pressing team. But there's got to be a reason to do that. One, is it your roster, or one, is it the style of play of your club? So for me, I've looked at our roster when we come in. I've got a style of play that I believe in, and it can fit many systems of play. And last year I think it worked. We can grow. We need to evolve from that as well, though. We need to keep the ball better. We need to look after the ball better when we can. But we need to be better decision makers at the end of the day.
Last one from me. This game originally was a night game. It got moved, afternoon kick. Thoughts on a day game as opposed to a night game? Which do you prefer?
I mean, I prefer a night game, certainly. The games under the lights at the bank are brilliant, the atmosphere and everything. But, I'm used to it from the UK, games being moved for TV all the time, Sometimes we're kicking off, I remember local derbies against Birmingham City kicking off at 11 o'clock in the morning, because they're worried about fan troubles, yet pubs still open at 8 o'clock in the morning for them, So, it is what it is. I'm thankful to all the supporters who are going to come and come to the game. We appreciate them, and hopefully, we can both be showing each other the love, after the game. And if your neighbours aren't coming, knock on the door and get them here, because we want as many of you as we can.
You can pass out beers in the supporters line.
Glasses are red.
True, that too.
Yeah.
Dean, when Wilf left, where did you feel the chemistry was with him and the other players up front as he jumps back in?
Yeah, no, his chemistry was getting there. I think top players, adapt quickly to other players, and his adaptation's been good. The fact that he's been away for 5 or 6 days, a little bit of a concern, but we'll see where he is when he comes in today.
Nick?
In your experience?
No, saying that, yeah.
Okay.
Back next.
In your experience as a manager, when your team does not go out and play like you expect, what has been the most effective for you to get them to respond?
I mean, I wasn't angry after the game. I was more disappointed because of where our standards were, and I could feel it during the game that we weren't playing as well as we could have done. But I don't really like to talk after the game normally. I like to think about things and rationalise why we've done certain things and then talk about it rationally. But they got a few harsh words from me after the game. That's normally enough to get them ready to get it out of their system for this game. But as I said, I have to give my players a lot of credit as well, because they showed a lot of resilience to come back twice as well when they weren't actually playing particularly well. And on reflection and review, their first goal should have been disallowed for offside. Again, I'm knocking on that door of semi-automated offsides because it should have been given. Morris is offside when he comes off to set the ball off before he goes and scores, and I feel that Patrick should have had a penalty. So, I'm always a big believer of momentum in football as well. If they don't get that goal, then momentum shifts. If we get a penalty when I think we should, momentum can shift. So, in my experience, again, it's to rationalise things.
What does it say about the club that you go play one of the better clubs in MLS? You get a 2-2 draw for a team that's expected to do really well. You didn't play well at all. What does it say about the whole club and what you've done in this last 14 months that we all have that expectation that should have come out of it maybe with more?
Well, I've gone grey now. I used to be red, so there was a lot of rain in Seattle, and that would have been like fire in the rain last week, because I was raging a little bit, that's for sure. But listen, every club that we play, and you look at the start we've been given, and you'd say all 4 teams, Seattle, Atlanta, Miami, Cincinnati, are going to be 4 teams that are going to be challenging for not just the conference, is it the conference shield? What do you call
Supporter
it?
Shield.
Supporter Shield, that's it. Supporter Shield. You'd think after 14 months I'd know that, wouldn't you? Fighting for Supporter Shield and fighting for MLS Cups, and we want to make sure that we're at that table as well.
All right, last one from me. Let's say you watch them in the first half and you notice the team's kind of doing something similar. How quick are you going to change? What are you going to do to change and make the difference?
Well, I have made subs in the first half before, and substitutes. So if that is what's needed, then that will be the change. I didn't think the first half it wasn't as bad as it felt, and I think XG was pretty similar in the first half. I think it was something like 0.7 to 0.6. There wasn't too much between the two teams. They'd had a lot more possession simply because we let them. We got back into our shape without actually going putting pressure on the ball, but they never really had clear-cut chances.
Yeah.
Dean, going back to Wilf, you mentioned your concern over his absence. Obviously, there's a physical aspect to that, just getting situated, but also mentally coming off of when being now a new father. As a manager and a father yourself, what's the kind of perspective you try to give to him going into this game just after the birth of his child?
I mean, my first child was 27 years ago on Christmas Day, and I kicked off the following day in a game at 11 o'clock. So he was born at 1957. Or 7:57 p.m. as you do it here. You don't use 24-hour clock, do you? And we kicked off at 11 o'clock the next day, and I kind of sleepwalked through that game, I must admit. But listen, you go through a lot of emotions. Watching your wife give birth, and but he's just on a plane. He's had a 8-hour, hopefully 7-hour sleep on the way here, and he's in the right frame of mind. But we'll see that when we get there. But I don't think, knowing Wilf as I do, that there's going to be anything that puts him off playing in this game in front of 50-odd thousand fans.
All right, we're going to zoom in the room. So, Charles?
Coach, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Charles.
Can't see you, but can hear you.
A follow-up on Wilfried. You spoke when you signed him about maybe him bringing a bit of magic to what you've already built last season, that little bit of attacking spark. With a little bit of time spent with him now and seeing how he fits in the group, do you still see it that way, and how do you analyze what he's bringing to the side?
Yeah, I think he can produce bits of magic. I think he's done that throughout his career. I have no doubts that he will come and do that here as well. He's looking forward to it. That's the big thing for me. He's excited. He wants to play, and he's an entertainer. He wants to entertain 50-odd thousand fans on Saturday. So that, I believe, is going to be his mentality, and we're looking forward to having him back.
Sam?
Okay, well, Dean, first I have to ask, did you really sleepwalk through that next game? Because if I recall correctly, Orient set a club record with an 8-0 win.
No, that's water under the bridge. It was. We actually played Cambridge United and lost 1-0 the next day, but 2 days after that we beat Doncaster Rovers 8-0 and I scored a penalty. I have the players hate it because I've got a photographic memory, and if you get a chance I can talk you through every 72 of my goals as a player.
So going back to the dad energy, Brant Bronico had a massive preseason. I think him and a couple others were surprised he didn't make the starting 11. Can you talk us through that decision?
Yeah, I mean, the way that Seattle play, I thought that it was definitely worth playing with 1 6 and 2 8s, and by doing that, I thought having Pep Biel and Eric Williamson in really good pockets of space would cause Seattle problems. We never built up as well as we could. We spoke quite a lot during the week of getting the ball out to our fullbacks who were low and giving it to the wide players very quickly. And their player got booked after 54 seconds. I think it was Nuhu. And we just needed to keep feeding Kerwin the ball after that, because I had no doubt in my mind that he would have kept trying to kick him, which would have meant a second yellow card. But we stopped doing that for some reason. But the reason was I wanted, some good technical players in pockets of space where I thought we could really hurt them. Listen, sometimes the game plan doesn't go how you want it to go, and we quickly changed that after 60 minutes.
So, what is Brant going to have to do to get it back in or stay in the starting 11?
He's going to have to compete with 3 or 4 other players. I think there's been a lot of talk recently about depth in squads. I've certainly got depth in the squad in midfield. I've got, Nicholas Petkovic was playing games last season. We've got Brant Bronico was playing games last season. Diani was playing games last season. Didn't start the first game. So I've got a number of players, in areas of the pitch now who are really pushing. Wilf comes back, so all of a sudden, Kerwin was playing a lot of games last season. Liao was playing a lot of games. So now, all of a sudden, there's not that many concrete names on the team sheet, which I think is important for us as a club to evolve as well.
And finally for me, staying on the same topic, Zaha, a new dad, thankfully, obviously Brant, it might have taken a game for you with Blade and Orient. Is there any truth to the dad energy, to being able to play a lot better after you've had a kid?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of kids that are born to professional footballers. I'm not sure every one of them players, makes winning games after they become a parent. But it should give them a lot of energy, that's for sure, and cost them a lot of money over the years.
All right, we'll do 2 more. We'll do Jorge and then in with Carol.
Hey, Dean. You just touched on it a little bit, in terms of the depth in the squad. Do you foresee any more additions to this team in the near future?
Yeah, as I say, we're still in the market for a left back, and we're still working on that as we speak. So hopefully we have somebody coming in pretty soon. It's an area that we wanted to strengthen. At the end of last season, Tim came in and we brought him in to play centre back. The 2 games that he played probably didn't give him and Adi the best connection. We didn't play that well, and then I think Yere went away or got injured, and we put Tim at left back, and we never looked back from that. I thought we showed some of our better performances after that. João Pedro, we allowed him to go out on loan because I didn't think he was going to be playing games this season. He just hadn't shown enough growth for me last season that he was going to fulfil his potential, and Yere wanted to go, so we decided to let him go. So yeah, the left back area is one that we certainly need some competition for team now.
Thank you.
Carol, last one.
I know fans are excited to see Zaha as a coach. Are you excited? Like, do you look at it like you tell him you give him freedom just to be himself, or do you challenge him?
No. There's always, he has to become part of the team first and foremost. We've seen a number of DPs come in to the league over the years, and for me, the successful ones are always the ones who become part of the team. And Wilf has shown all the traits of wanting to do that since he's come here, so I expect him to come in and show the same togetherness that the rest of the players do.
I think he was watching the Seattle game. It must have been 5 a.m. in UK. So.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. And listen, we kept texting, and he said you looked unhappy at a point away from home, and I said I was, and I gave him the reasons why, and he went, yeah, understand.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you.